For me, there's something slightly insane about us cyclists carrying around these tiny high-pressure gas canisters in our saddlebags and pretending that's completely normal. And even though CO2 cartridges are fast, I've never fully trusted them. One mistake, one bad seal, and one wasted cartridge, and your ride can be over. So when CYCPLUS sent me the AS2 PRO Mini Pump to check out, I was genuinely intrigued. They haven't paid me for this video, they haven't seen it before publication, so these thoughts are completely my own. At the end of this video, I'll tell you if this makes it into my saddlebag. So what exactly is the AS2 PRO? Basically, it's a tiny battery-powered pump designed to replace both CO2 cartridges and traditional mini pumps. And the first thing that surprised me was just how small and light this is. At around 120 grams, 140 grams with this silicone case on, it easily disappears into the saddlebag or jersey pocket. Despite the size, CYCPLUS claims it can inflate tyres up to 120 psi, so it's designed to handle proper road bike pressures. It charges via USB-C, which makes it easy to keep topped up. What really interests me is the control it gives you. Unlike CO2, where it's basically one shot and hope for the best, this mini pump lets you inflate tyres gradually and much more precisely, which matters if you're particular about tyre pressures like most cyclists are these days. So, what do you get in the box? There is a small manual which gives you all information you need to know. The device itself, the AS2 CYCPLUS PRO, arrived in this silicone case. The manual says to use the pump with the case as the inflator may get hot during use. The device has a USB-C port for charging, and you get a charging cable in the box. There's a simple and easy to read LED screen on the front, and there's a splash-proof pouch to place the pump in to keep sweat and water away from the device. Then we have the holes. This must be used with the TPU tubes, and it can be used in other scenarios too. Lastly, you get the accessories you may need depending on what you're inflating. We have a ball needle, spur seal, pressure valve converter, and a pillar for switching between Schrader and Presta. I've been putting the AS2 PRO through its paces because I wanted to see in realistic situations how it would perform. First, if I had just changed the tyre and I wanted to inflate my new TPU in the tube from 0 to 75 psi, how easy is that and how long would it take? I have Presta valves, so once I removed the valve cap, I unscrewed the valve all the way and screwed the Presta valve converter on. Then, attach the holes to the pump and screw it onto the converter. Now I simply select my desired pressure, which is 75 psi, and click the top button. If you want to change the screen to read bar rather than PSI, you can do this by pressing the plus and minus buttons together. To inflate to 75 psi, this took around 54 seconds, and the pump auto stopped when it reached the right pressure. That, I must say, is super easy to do. The area around the bottom of the pump does get a little bit warm, but critically it doesn't melt or get too hot that it would deform the valve in any way. I guess the hose did its job here. Next, I wanted to know how many times could I inflate a TPU tube from 0 to 75 before the device needed charging. I managed to get 3 inflations to 75 psi out of the AS2 Mini Pro, and on the 4th it reached 63 before stopping. So it's still inflated, so pretty much 4 inflations I got in total from a single charge. I'm happy with that. If I'm getting more than 4 punches out on a ride, I think I'm just going to get a taxi home at that point anyway. You couldn't make this up. I've just got a puncture 100 kilometers into a 105k ride, 5k from the finish, and I've just got a puncture. I've just ran over a bit of road construction, so there's like a bit of a pothole, and I just heard it go. So first time I'm going to get a chance to use this in a real life situation. Well, there it is. Not sure if that's even repairable. It's a pretty sizable hole. I'll check it when I get back later. But yeah, don't run over rough bits of road. Well, as annoying as that puncture was 5 kilometers from the end, of a ride, I was glad that I had the AS2 PRO to help me out. It did its job and it got me back on the road. When you get back from your ride, having needed to have used the pump, you can charge using the USB-C cable provided, and it's super quick, only taking around 30 minutes. One thing that did strike me when I first used the pump indoors was the noise. It did make me jump a little bit. I did do a quick sound test on my iPhone, and indoors the ambient room noise was about 28 decibels. Then when I turned on the AS2 PRO, that rose to 95. I did quickly get used to the noise, and to be honest, in an outdoor environment where I'm most likely to be using this, I think it's fine. I've been testing this with the Canyon Airroad, and it has TPU inner tubes with Schrader valves. But I also wanted to check how would this work on a city bike which uses a Schrader valve. For this, I borrowed my girlfriend's bike, adjusted as per the manual to make the pump suitable for the Schrader valve, and the pump did an equally good job here. So whether you've got a Schrader or Schrader valve, this pump seems to do a really good job. So what are the pros and cons? First, the pros. The AS2 PRO is extremely compact. It fits nicely in my Canyon saddlebag or my jersey. It's convenient versus hand pumping. It's just easier pressing a button than pumping away with a mini pump at the side of the road. It's faster than expected, 54 seconds to get me back up to 75 PSI from 0. I'm happy with that. It's USB-C rechargeable, 30 minutes back up to full charge, which I think is super quick. It's great for those who want to control their PSI. If you're a bit of a data nerd, then you'll love to have the ability to reinflate to specific pressure. So it's more precise than CO2 cartridges. You can repeat inflate. Plus, I believe you can't take CO2 cartridges on a plane. Certainly the last time I went to Mallorca, I had to leave my CO2 cartridges at home, and then I had to buy more when I was out there. So what are the cons? Well, as I mentioned earlier, it is a little bit noisy. If you're inside, it's more noticeable, but personally, I don't see this being too much of an issue as I'm mainly going to be using this outdoors. There is some heat build-up, but I experience no issues. It's pretty common for these mini pumps, and it does come with a hose, which really does help with this issue. The AS2 PRO is a little more expensive than a mini pump, and it's a little heavier than a CO2 setup. But having said this, the pros heavily weigh out the cons for me. So, who is this actually for? Personally, I think for road, gravel riders who are looking to have a backup, which will not only get them out of a sticky situation, but also inflate the new tube to a specific PSI. That is really nice. Many cyclists are using websites like the Silica Tire Pressure Calculator to determine the best pressures for their setup. So to inflate back to your desired pressure after a puncture is a bit of a game changer. Of course, if you're into mountain biking, this could be for you also. But I do wonder with the larger volume tyres, you'll probably get less repeat inflations. To sum up, has the CYCPLUS AS2 PRO made it into my saddlebag? Absolutely. Out have gone the CO2 cartridges, never to be used again, and replaced with this. And honestly, it eases my anxiety just knowing this is in my saddlebag. Personally, I can recommend this. I think it's going for around €90 now. You might get a deal on certain days of the year. And I recommend picking one up if that's something that interests you. If you enjoyed this video, then consider hitting that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. And hopefully, I'll see you around in the next video.